Behind the Line Extra for your Saturday, January 4th, 2020. I am your host, KC. Follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Hit the like and subscribe button on YouTube. Leave a 5-star rating on iTunes. I appreciate all your support. Got a lot to go over today. I'll have my NFL wildcard bets coming up shortly. I don't know yet if I'm going to have a show for Tuesday. I'll be in New Orleans for the Vikings-Saints game on Sunday. So we'll see how it goes. If I don't upload Tuesday, I'll wait and do it on Wednesday. Several NFL franchises are in the middle of their coaching search. One of those is the Cleveland Browns, who should be used to this by now. They should be used to this process. The Browns seemingly are searching for a new head coach every other year. They've yet to get it right. Cleveland hasn't hired a good head coach since Bill Belichick in the mid-90s. Even his tenure in Cleveland was a failure. The Browns haven't hired a head coach who had a winning record during their time in Cleveland since Marty Schottenheimer back in the mid to late 1980s. Over 30 years of incompetence. Since 1999, coaches hired by the Browns have a combined record of 95 and 226. Maybe owner Jimmy Haslam will finally get it right this time around, but I've got my doubts. He's already starting off on the wrong foot. He stated Thursday that he plans to hire his head coach first, then hire a general manager, which is completely backwards to how the process normally goes. But this process, or that practice, has become more popular recently. Actually, 4 of this year's playoff teams hired their coach before their general manager. And the coach had input on who the GM was going to be. But this is the Cleveland Browns we're talking about. I have no faith that the Browns will handle this situation correctly. Cleveland was initially interested in Ron Rivera. He said no thanks. If I'm going to work for bad ownership, I'd rather do it with Dan Snyder in Washington. At least his team has made the playoffs in the past decade. Unlike the Cowboys, who I'll get to in a minute, the Browns aren't in a position to command the hire of a high-profile head coach. Guys like Mike McCarthy, Urban Meyer, Ron Rivera, they're not wasting their time with the fucking Browns. The dysfunctional reputation of this organization, the sheer incompetence of the past 20 or 30 years, this type of thing doesn't attract quality head coaches. The Browns are going to have to settle for someone with little name value, someone looking to make a name for himself, which is exactly what Cleveland's been doing the past 3 decades and failing miserably. It's essential at this point that the Browns hire the right coach. The career of Baker Mayfield is at stake with this next coaching hire. 2 years into the league, he's lacked the leadership at the head coaching position. We all know Freddie Kitchens was the wrong guy to lead this team. Baker's had to step into a leadership position as the face of this team, a position that he's not ready for. I don't know if he'll ever be ready for it. I think he lacks the maturity at this point to be the leader of a franchise. The Browns need to hire someone to take that leadership role away from Baker Mayfield and put it on himself to be the face of the team. To Jimmy Haslam's credit, he's got several coordinators lined up for interviews. They've already interviewed Mike McCarthy. They need an offensive-minded head coach. The offensive line was a disaster last season. And as I said a second ago, Baker Mayfield is in dire need of development. Now, we know now as of late Thursday that the Dallas Cowboys are looking for their next head coach. We've discussed at length on this podcast all week about the situation surrounding Jason Garrett, why it was so difficult for Jerry Jones to let him go. You can go back and listen if you want my opinion on that. As to who Jerry Jones will hire as Garrett's replacement, we don't really know. There's no clear front runner. I've been hearing rumors about Urban Meyer. I just don't see that happening. Meyer left his last two jobs at Florida and Ohio State due to health concerns. Both of those exits were shrouded in controversy, so whether it was real health concerns or not, I don't know. I see Jerry Jones going with someone with NFL experience, and more specifically, NFL head coaching experience. I mean, let's be real. Jerry Jones is in his late 70s. I think he's 78, 79 years old. He bought this team in 1989, and within 5 years, the Cowboys had won 3 Super Bowls. I believe Jerry thought he was the reason for the Cowboys' quick turnaround in the 90s. And now he's spent the past 25 years destroying this franchise from within. Ran off Bill Parcells. Ran off Jimmy Johnson. He's running the Cowboys the way he wants to, being his own general manager. But I think at this point in his life, Jerry Jones is clamoring for one more Super Bowl win before his days on earth are over. Maybe, just maybe, he would be willing to give up a little bit of that control to his next head coach. Mike McCarthy could be a good candidate, but I think the Cowboys are going to lean more towards a defensive-minded head coach. The defense was a disappointment in 2019. Dennis Allen, defensive coordinator in New Orleans, who has turned around the Saints defense the past few years, could get a look at this coaching job. There are rumors again about Sean Payton going to Dallas, but those are bullshit. Gail Benson has Sean Payton on a long-term contract. She's not letting him go. I think that Mike Zimmer in Minnesota could be the front runner in Dallas and would be a good fit for the Cowboys. The Vikings have been one of the best defensive units in the league in Zimmer's tenure in Minnesota. And prove the Cowboys' defense, they're the best team in the NFC East. It was made clear this season that Dak Prescott doesn't have what it takes to carry a team on his own. Mike Zimmer also has ties to Dallas. He used to be a defensive coordinator. He and Jerry Jones have a great relationship. He's got 1 year left on his contract in Minnesota, but I don't think that's something that would stop Jerry Jones from going after him and getting him to be the head coach of the Cowboys. Now, I've heard very little about the next head coach in Carolina. Apparently, they're content with taking their time. Other than the Cowboys, I think the New York Giants is the most attractive destination for potential head coaches. As I've said several times this week, the Giants are set up offensively to win in 2020. Young quarterback, young running back, good set of receivers. The only thing missing in New York is a defense. There was speculation all season about the Giants being interested in Jason Garrett, but surprisingly, I haven't heard anything about it since he was fired in Dallas. Now, it's only been about 36 hours. But right now, it seems like Matt Rule from Baylor is the front runner. He's got ties to New York. He was the offensive line coach under Tom Coughlin back in 2012. The most important thing for the Giants is to hire a head coach that can lead the development of Daniel Jones. I thought he was impressive in his rookie season. He showed flashes of his potential, especially down the stretch late in the season. But you don't want what happened to Baker Mayfield to happen to Daniel Jones. Mayfield also closed out his rookie season strong. Then Cleveland went out, hired the wrong head coach, and Baker Mayfield was god-awful in his second season. I'm not sure that Matt Rule is that guy. All right, let's get to college football for a second. There's been a lot of speculation going around about Alabama quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. Will he return to Tuscaloosa next year, or is he going to declare for the NFL draft? Even though he's coming off an injury, he's still projected right now to be a top 10 pick in the 2020 draft. He's expected to announce his decision on Monday. Remember earlier this season, I, along with many others, were accusing the Miami Dolphins of tanking for Tua. Miami ends up being competitive the last half of the season, but more importantly, Tua got hit with that season-ending hip injury. So his draft stock has fallen a little bit over the course of the college football season. Obviously, Alabama fans want him back, but is it really worth it from Tua's standpoint? What does he have to gain from returning to college? He could win a national title. Who fucking cares? That's not enough incentive for him to return. The only reason I could see him returning to Alabama is if his injury is worse than expected and his recovery is not going as well as he had hoped. Dropping out of the top 10 in the NFL draft costs you big money. For example, last year's number 5 pick got a 4-year, $29.3 million deal, fully guaranteed, with a $19.3 million signing bonus. Dwayne Haskins, the number 15 pick, got 4 years at $14.4 million and an $8.5 million signing bonus. You're looking at half the money by just dropping 10 spots in the draft. This is kind of uncharted territory in recent years. I can't remember the last time we've had a high-profile quarterback coming out of college with a potential career-altering injury and having to make a decision on whether to go back to school or head straight to the NFL. Joe Burrow is the obvious number 1 pick this year, but Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields could be in that same spot next season. Either way, Tua's unlikely to be the number 1 pick in the draft in 2020 or 2021. I don't see any reason for him to return to college football. Injury or not, there are so many teams in this draft in desperate need for a quarterback. The Bungles, who are likely going to draft Joe Burrow. But you've also got the Dolphins, possibly the Redskins, Carolina, the Chargers. All of those are picking in the top 10. Outside the top 10, you've got Indianapolis, Jacksonville, Tampa Bay, possibly the Raiders. You've got damn near 30% of the league in need of a starting quarterback. Not to mention the fact that both the Chargers and the Raiders are in need of a splashy quarterback pick headed into next season. If Tua were to return to college next season, what would happen if he was re-injured? 2 consecutive seasons with an injury. He could fall out of the entire first round. I go back to the question I asked earlier. What does he have to gain from returning to Alabama? Why pass up on the chance of millions of dollars, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, to go back to the oppressive NCAA system and play football for free? All right, NFL.com released their playoff quarterback rankings. They judged them on trustworthiness. I found the rankings kind of interesting. Here they are. Number 1, Lamar Jackson, followed by Patrick Mahomes, Drew Brees, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson, Tom Brady, Carson Wentz, Ryan Tannehill, Jimmy G, Kirk Cousins, Josh Allen. How fucking disrespectful. Lamar Jackson at number 1. The guy has 1 MVP caliber regular season, and all of a sudden he's more trustworthy in the playoffs than Drew Brees and Tom Brady? What has Lamar Jackson done in the postseason? He's lost. He's 0-1. I don't care how poor Tom Brady has been this regular season. The dude has won 30 playoff games, more than any other quarterback in NFL history. He was winning Super Bowls while Lamar Jackson's mom was changing his diapers. How can you say Lamar Jackson is more trustworthy than Drew Brees? Brees is playing some of the best football of his entire career, leading a Saints team to their 3rd straight NFC South title, the most accurate passer in league history. At least Patrick Mahomes has won a playoff game. I would still put Brees over him too. There's a big difference between winning in the regular season and winning in the playoffs. The Ravens are my Super Bowl favorite in the AFC, but that doesn't mean Lamar Jackson is the guy I trust over guys like Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Russell Wilson, even Aaron Rodgers. Guys who have been there and done that. The disrespect Tom Brady's shown on the list is staggering to me. Deshaun Watson over Tom Brady? Really? All right, let's get to our NFL bets for Wild Card Weekend. First game up, Bills at Texans. Current line, Houston -3. I said it at the beginning of the season. I've been saying it all season long on this podcast. Buffalo has the best defense in the NFL. Top 5 pass defense, top 5 run defense. The Bills have only given up over 400 yards twice all season. And one of those games was against Dallas, where the yards were given up in garbage time. The return of J.J. Watt, I think, is going to be big for the Texans. Houston's defense has struggled in his absence, especially with the pass rush. I'm not sure how effective he's going to be, but his presence alone will be a boon for the Texans' defense. This game to me is all about Josh Allen and Deshaun Watson. Which Josh Allen are we going to get? The quarterback we saw against the Cowboys on Thanksgiving, or the quarterback that we saw a couple of weeks ago against New England? The Bills haven't won a playoff game since 1995. Young quarterback on the road in his first playoff game in a hostile environment. Watson, on the other hand, has proven his clutch gene, at least in the regular season. He's been in this situation before. I think the Texans are going to start slow. They got several players coming back from injury, but the offense will get it going a little bit as the game goes on. I like the Texans to win, but the Bills' defense keeps it close. Houston is terrible against the spread in the playoffs. 1-4 against the number of the last 5 games. Taking Buffalo +3. Titans at Patriots. Current line, New England -4.5. I don't like betting against Terrific Tom and Bill Belichick in the playoffs, but I think we're getting real value here with Tennessee. We all know how great the Patriots defense is, but no one has stopped Derrick Henry all season. Last 7 weeks, the Titans are averaging 188 yards a game on the ground. This team is built for the playoffs. Good defense. One of the best rushing attacks in the league. And a quarterback that excels with the play-action pass. Ryan Tannehill is perfect for this offensive system. I mentioned earlier this week that I think we're on the verge of witnessing a divorce in New England. This could be Tom Brady's last game in a Patriots uniform. His last game at Gillette Stadium. I don't think the relationship between he and Belichick is all good right now. The offense has struggled to score all season. For 16 games, it's been on the Patriots defense to bail this team out. If New England gives up 20 or more points, they lose. Every time this season the Patriots gave up 20 plus, they've lost. The Patriots offense averaged just 20 points in those games. When I did my playoff predictions the other day, I had the Titans beating the Patriots. I still feel that way. Going to take the free points, take Tennessee +4.5. Vikings at Saints, current line New Orleans -8. Kirk Cousins lucked out a bit with the noon kickoff. He's historically bad in primetime games, but he's also historically bad against winning teams. Dalvin Cook is set to play, which should help alleviate some of the pressure off of Cousins. But the Saints have a top 5 run defense, ranked 4th in the league in rush yards a game. The strength of the Vikings defense is their pass rush, 5th in the league with 48 sacks. They have a knack for forcing turnovers, 3rd in interceptions, 5th in forced fumbles. But New Orleans doesn't turn the ball over. Only 8 turnovers on the season. And the Saints' offensive line does a great job of protecting Drew Brees. They've only given up 25 sacks. The thing is, I don't think Minnesota is clutch, and it all comes down to Kirk Cousins. This team had a chance to wrap up the NFC North the last 2 weeks of the season. 2 straight games at home. Then they go out and choke against the Packers on Monday Night Football. We've seen it time and time again that Kirk Cousins cannot perform when the lights are bright. New Orleans, 6-1 at home under Sean Payton in the playoffs. I like them to cover the big number. Take New Orleans -8. Last game, Seahawks at Eagles, current line Seattle -1, a rare road favorite in a playoff game. The Eagles are banged up. We've talked about it repeatedly on this podcast the last month of the season. Carson Wentz is throwing to guys we've never heard of. The roster is full of practice squad players. They've managed to finish strong, winners of their last 4. But those wins came against some of the worst teams in the league. 2 wins against the Giants, beat Washington and Dallas. Carson Wentz was the better quarterback in all 4 of those games. Yet, if you look at the results before that 4-game run, when Philly was playing better opponents, they struggled. lost to the Patriots, home loss to this Seattle team. Hell, they even lost to Miami. For the first time in the last month, Carson Wentz won't be the better quarterback on the field Sunday. Now, Seattle's banged up too, but Russell Wilson has more weapons available to him. He's never lost against the Eagles. I think this is going to be a low-scoring game, but Russell Wilson will pull some late-game heroics, and they will win late. Set up a rematch with the 49ers next week, taking Seattle -1. All right, to recap, we're on Buffalo +3, Tennessee +4.5, New Orleans -8, Seattle -1. All right, that's all for today. I hope to be back Tuesday to recap the weekend. Otherwise, it'll be Wednesday. Leave me a comment with your NFL picks for the weekend. Hit the like and subscribe button on YouTube. Leave a 5-star rating on iTunes. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Enjoy Wildcard Weekend. I will see you next week.